All right, welcome. Today we're going to have a special treat for the Kung Fu discussion group, a little one-on-one discussion. As always, I'm your Uncle Sickness. Here with me is Jonathan from Wing Chun Life and Like a Mind Reader. How are you doing today, John?
Just doing way too well. Any day above ground is a good day, as my grandpa used to say, until
Always.
he wasn't above ground anymore.
Yeah, well then every day's a good day after that. You don't have
Yep.
to worry.
Exactly. Groundhogs, bring him a mail. That's another one of his favorites. Yep. Bringing it back. Wow, this got dark just right out the gate. It's
Yes.
brutal.
The world I've been throwing a lot lately, so the whole darkness thing is kind of forefront.
Yep. Charlie Murphy. Wait, different darkness. Sorry.
Different, yeah. No, that's
The old cut from college days.
Yes, I'm surprised when I meet people that aren't familiar with that joke and they need an explanation. Just sort of a part of me is very, very deeply disappointed inside.
Just leave them hanging. Like, that was a peculiar interaction.
Yeah.
And done.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll start taking a line from Twitter. Do your research.
I'm not here to educate you, okay? This isn't my job to bring you up to speed. Okay.
Well, today we are going to educate some people. And instead of talking about my specialties, I'd like to hear a bit about yours. You've been practicing Wing Chun now for how many years?
Coming up on a decade somewhere. Yeah. It's kind of now one of those things that feels like I've done it my whole life, because it's kind of one of those things that has become such a daily practice that if I don't do it, it feels like everything falls apart. And that's pretty much what happens. Because, yeah, that's kind of how I pulled my life back together, was just getting my head right enough to do Wing Chun. At least I can do my form today. No matter how bad everything else is, I know I could at least do this. And having that amount of control helped me start to organize the rest of my life and pull my head out of my ass. That's basically it.
Excellent. That seems to be a common theme for people that really integrate martial arts practice into their life and start to use it as a real mainline structuring element.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just so impressed at how disciplined you are. And wow, I couldn't devote that kind of time and attention to anything. That's incredible. Like that you just make the time for that. And it must be so difficult for you. And you're just like, I know what happens when I don't do this, and it's horrific. So this is a small price to pay to avoid all that other crap that happens when I don't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how you endure not doing this. Like that to me is the amazing part.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We actually, the episode that we filmed last weekend, the 3-man group, Matt, Yoga Midnight, actually mentioned, skipping a day is just, he doesn't like, he kind of mentioned it in the context of feeling dirty almost, not in a, like a moral or literal way, but just, you don't feel good. Everything's low. It's that grit, that crust buildup,
Yep.
There was I guess saying that I learned pretty early on in my practice, 1 day's practice, 1 day's skill, 1 day's rest, 10 days rust. And
I like that.
It seems to be a pretty universal one. So
yeah. It's kind of like piano and musicianship or any kind of performance art. It's kind of like I miss 1 day, I notice. I miss 2 days, my teacher notices. I miss 3 days, the audience notices.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like, it's not a one and done kind of a thing. Right? That's another thing that I've never understood was, hey, I got my black belt. Now I'll stop going to class. It was like, you just started. Like you just got to the point where you know enough to start learning at all.
Yeah.
Like, this is square one, man. And you think you're done. It's like, it's not done. Like, good luck with that moss.
I had heard getting your black belt described as now you've completed the basics.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Matrix references all around in my time on social media in the last few weeks. Just also general conversations in the real world. A lot of people referencing the Matrix. A lot of people referencing the whole downloading skill thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great, but you still need that element of practice. The performance element is a huge
Yep.
part of any skill, and it seems like people don't realize, it's not some sort of super immersive RPG, where you just, I equip the skill, now I have it, I don't ever need to learn it. It's just always going to
Yeah.
be there perfect for me.
Yeah. There's a point I always like to make about memory is a lot of people think, oh, I have a bad memory. And it's not that you have a bad memory, it's that your strategies for remembering things is bad. So
Yeah.
you don't understand how your memory works, so you don't know how to develop an effective strategy. So it's kind of one of those things of the closest thing that you could have to downloading skill is acquiring it in a way that works with how you acquire skill instead of employing strategy of just simple repetition or brute force memorization. So there are ways to shortcut skill development, but there's no way to do it instantly. There's just ways to do it faster than everybody else who's doing it in a supremely ineffective way.
Yeah.
So the closest you could get to downloading it is like, to me, that's one of the things that I absolutely love about Wing Chun is, okay, here's your system. Boom. Learn your system and then just lather, rinse, repeat. It's like everything you need to know, boom, baked into these 6 forms. And form 1 informs form 2. Form 2 puts what you learned in 1 into motion. The third one develops on it. So it's just like building a 6-story house.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's it. So to me, it's the fastest way of developing the skill of aligning yourself with the forces of the universe.
Yeah.
That I found. So I'm like, okay, that's super cool. I want to do that. So you can learn it really quickly, but then to cultivate it and develop it, well, now you got your whole life to do that. It's kind of like the game of Go. Simple to learn, hard to master.
Exactly.
Same thing with Wing Chun, because I think of it like my teacher, he was like, dude, just think of it like choreography. You just learn the choreography and then you learn to dance with somebody else. That's it. Don't think of this as like kung fu. Don't think of this as some mysterious thing. Just learn your choreography and then you can learn what it means. But just do what I tell you to do. Just do it. And then you'll know kung fu. And I'm like, that sounds pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you do it. You're like, holy shit, that's amazing. It actually works. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's always surprised me that so many people that have trouble advancing and developing, both themselves and their skills, they get so hung up on the choreography aspect, the whole forms collector thing. People out there just learning, oh, I've learned 20 styles. Well, you've learned 20 some odd routines. And
right.
You don't really practice any of them, so you aren't really how deeply have you gone into any of them.
Right, because any system done well should set you free to be more of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't do that until you've really learned the system.
Yeah.
It's like if you just read a book on a system and go, I intellectually understand this. Next. Like, well, good luck. You're just, like you said, you're going to be a forms collector, and now look at all the kung fu I know on my bookshelf. And you haven't taken one day to actually become your kung fu. It's like somebody calling themselves an artist and like, look at all the paints I have. Look at the canvas.
Yeah.
I have all the accoutrements of artistship. Look at me. I'm an artist. I'm like, all right, show me a painting. You're like, oh no, we don't paint here. We buy paints. We buy all the trappings, but we don't actually create anything. Just like,
yeah. I'm having memories of a living situation about 15 years ago. We had it's basically me and one other person in a 3-bedroom apartment in Boston. One whole bedroom was just devoted to my roommate's studio. really well stocked, really a lot of really nice high end material and equipment. Oh, have you taken on any commissions lately? You done any illustration? Well, I just can't bring myself to part with my work. It's like my baby. What are you, a woman? What are you talking about? You can't. I regret that joke now because it's just, I know women that are more practical about it, but you're going to spend all this money, put yourself in a financial hole, and then not, like you spent the money on the way out of the hole. You spent $100 to make $1,000. Now you're just going to sit on this and not actually. There's 2 steps, and step 2 is you make money. You refuse to take that step. That makes no. Right. And then to complain, yeah. Oh, everything's so tough. I have to borrow money. I might get on food stamps. You don't need to do that. Just, you're already in there for 3 hours a day. Just turn to somebody else and say yes. And you do the one hand out.
I made this.
Yeah. Yeah,
trade. Yeah. But that's a really interesting point too, is that I run a Wing Chun meetup here in Chicago. Sunday afternoon, basically from 1 to 6, 1 to 7 p.m., I'm doing Kung Fu. And the venue charges like $5, maybe $8. And me, I'm just like, hey, I want to share this and have cool people to share this with. Yeah. So I'm not in it to get rich. And it would be awesome if you could get rich at this. You just don't, because people don't value it. No. However, it's more of, I run the meetup group, and there are something like 115 people in the meetup group. And they are basically 112 people who are interested in having the I'm interested in Kung Fu badge on their profile.
Yeah.
But they aren't interested at all in actually showing up to do Kung Fu.
Yeah.
So
sticky.
Yeah. So again, one of my sayings that my teacher always had is, people are interested in being interested in something. They're not interested in actually doing it. So it's kind of weird how it's like, I don't care what you tell me you're going to do. I'm not going to listen to it. I give zero stock to anything you tell me. Like, oh yeah, I'll be at class. I'm really looking forward to being there. Okay, I'll see you when you're there.
Right.
Oh, sorry, I didn't show up to class. I didn't expect to see you there anyway. Yeah. Like, I would have seen you if you'd shown up, and then I would have seen you. But I don't expect to see you there just because you told me, because most people can't bring their actions into alignment with their stated intentions.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, you can't believe anything anybody says. Look at what they're doing. And oh yeah, it's hard to be surprised when you actually look at what people do. The only time you're surprised is when you think what they say is what they're going to do. And then that's the room for, oh wow, I didn't expect that. Like,
yeah.
Good luck.
Oh yeah. I spent about 10 years working in a museum. Every time, and this is one of those museums, it's Boston's version of the Frick in Philadelphia. You are right on top of the art. There's no real separation. There's maybe a rope here or there for 1 or 2 things, but you could just reach out and touch anything, take anything off the wall, pick anything up off the table. And people would always be surprised when I would successfully just kind of turn, seeming like I wasn't paying attention to them, turn and say, please don't touch that. Well, how did you know? I can see you. Well, what does that mean? I'm here to watch you.
The light is bouncing off of your being, and the light rays are hitting my eyeballs, then my brain processes the movement, and I can see your intention. Yeah, it's a superpower that is so stupid that it amazes people. Exactly. It's like, how did you know I was going to do that? I could see you doing it.
Yeah.
That's it literally is that simple. And to me, that's one thing that I love about Wing Chun, is kind of one of the kind of playful aspects of Wing Chun is Chi Sao, or sticky hands, which is most often done as slap tickle fighting, right? Most people that do Chi Sao are there to play patty cake. Like,
Yeah.
look at all my fancy lops out. Like,
Yeah.
and they're there to, it's like a performance art,
Yeah.
right? they're there to play together outside contact range. And you're just like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. But when done properly and with a listening mind,
Mm.
right? It's just super cool that our sense of touch on an evolutionary scale is so much more ancient than our visual processing.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time for your mind to catch up to what you're seeing. And your mind actually kind of outphases your sensory, like your physical touch,
Yeah.
delays it so that it doesn't seem out of sync with how long it takes your visual to catch up to.
Yeah.
Right? So you get an integrated experience of what I see and feel is at the same time, but you're actually like 300 milliseconds behind what you're feeling so that your vision can be like, I'm here to the party,
Yeah.
right? So we rely mainly on our sense of vision, but we're 300 milliseconds in the past in terms of visual processing.
Yeah.
So what's really cool is that your sense of touch is kind of in 300 milliseconds in the future based on what you can see.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's kind of like when you're learning dance, like in college. My college girlfriend was just super cool, and she was a swing dancer.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, if we're going to date, I better know how to swing dance because there's going to be a whole bunch of other dudes swing dance with her. So
Yeah.
I better learn how to do this. So I learned how to swing dance to a very competent level. And it's really neat, right? Because when you look at somebody's feet to see what it is that they're doing, it's already too late.
Yeah.
But the instant that you get connected to them through your frame and the dance, you now can feel everything that they're going to do as they're doing it.
Exactly.
Right? So what's really cool is Chisao is a laboratory condition for you to explore that sense of proprioceptive awareness
Mm.
that usually only lasts for a fraction of a second as you collide through a strike. That moment that you connect with another person tells you everything you need to know, and it's usually over in a couple milliseconds, right?
Exactly.
So Chisao says, all right, that instant of a moment is do or die, and it's incredibly important. So let's develop a scientific laboratory where we can spend a lot of time in that fraction of a second so that when it happens for real, you will have had hours, days, and weeks worth of experience to navigate that moment.
Yeah.
So Chisao is the practice of learning to feel the other person's intention. And what's really awesome is when somebody new is trying it out for the first time. It's like you can totally feel what it is they're trying to figure out to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go around, maybe I can go through. And you see everything they're thinking because it's manifesting in their body.
Yeah.
And they're not even aware that they're telling you all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool. So then if you're aware of it, you can respond with it, and you're like always a half second ahead of them. So you're never where they think you're going to be. And it feels like to them that you're some sort of mind reader, that you're just some wizard who can teleport just out of range just like, I can't get a hold of you. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm just like, I'm just paying attention to what you're doing. You're telling me everything. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I'm like, well, my job is to hear everything you're saying and to give you nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
It's that 80s, that 80s hip hop technique, call and response. You know, people don't realize how applicable certain ideas can be. I found with a lot of my students and training partners, classmates, you know, it got to a point pretty quickly where the teacher actually, for when I was learning Xingyi, the teacher had to, you know, take about a half an hour of class one Saturday to tell them, you know, you can't think of it in terms of, you know, someone has talent, someone lacks talent. It's somebody's following the rules or they're not following the rules. You know, you can say, I do, you know, in this case, I do Xing Yi. Yeah, you do Xing Yi. You aren't employing it. You aren't employing its methods, its tactics, its principles. You haven't built that structure. You think, well, I know how to, you know, I can throw my hands up. I've got one story of a guy, the very first private student I had. If I mirrored him and I stood opposite him and kind of like locked eyes, mind control style, we could go slow motion through anything. He would do it properly. But if I stood there with my arms folded and said, you do it and show me, you know, you get these like interpretive dance. It's like, put your hands forward in front of your center line. You get both hands coming up on the side over the head.
Yep.
Bend those knees. One leg's getting, what are you doing? Weights in all the wrong places. Well, this is how I do it. Well, what you do is wrong. You need to do what you're told. This is,
right.
You know,
right.
With that style in particular, it's about 300 years old. By the end of the first generation of people taught by the founder, the methodology was perfected. So you've got a complete plan here. All you need to do is just first you do A, then B, then C. You're there. You know, they also, it's another style where they say easy to learn, difficult to master, because, you know, you can learn everything, weapon sets included, in about 9 months. It's that pared down. It's that direct.
That's funny. That's what I always say about Wing Chun. Is like, all right, this is designed for, hey, the Mongols are coming at the end of winter, so let's figure out how to defend ourselves. That kind of time-based scenario. You don't have a lot of time, so let's get you up to speed quickly.
Yeah.
And another point is, a lot of Wing Chun practitioners love to talk about, you know, Wing Chun was created by a woman. So it doesn't rely on strength and muscles and physical size. It relies on technique and timing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, he says as he flexes his chest muscle.
Yeah, and then you get like a big like bruiser dude be like, okay, so then you just blast through. And you're just like, if it's the saying and then the not doing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's so weird how there's like, yeah, you don't have to be big and strong, and then they rely on their strength and size to just physically dominate their students to look badass. Yeah. So I was just like, most of the Wing Chun, you're just like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Right. And it's kind of like, I want to train to stay well for the rest of my life. I don't want to train so hard now that my injuries are now like points of pride. Yeah. Like, you done fucked up, Ron, right? If you hurt yourself in training, like seriously, it's like you're just damaging yourself long term.
Yeah.
And it's not a point of pride or like, yeah, blew out my tendon at practice today. Boy, that was a good session. It's like I love that nobody that's trained with me has been hurt. Like, awesome.
Well, that's definitely something to be proud of. It's so easy when you get those people, not necessarily a cutting corners mentality, but ignoring the details.
Yes.
You know, answering, you know, when a teacher corrects a problem with a detail and you get well, I feel, yeah, I don't care. I don't care about my feelings. I don't even believe yours are real. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to do what we're told here.
Yep.
And I find for some of the best styles, and I imagine this is the same for Wing Chun, I've definitely gotten this impression from the research I've done on it over the years, that details matter a lot more than interpretation does. You know, you get these people who claim it's big picture. No, it's not big picture. It's you want to put your name on something that you haven't figured out yet. You need to get this right. That's why a good teacher will harp on, you want this hand in this position. You want your wrist settled this way. Get those shoulders down. Get that head up.
Yeah. So I have a degree in painting. Like that's what I went to college for, because I grew up drawing G.I. Joes and I loved comic books, and I was like, yeah, comic books are badass. Like, this is the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow tattoo from the Arashikage Ninja Clan. Like, that's how much I love comic books and the art of comics. Like, I don't follow the stories, nothing. It's just like, I love how it looks.
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of one thing that got me into martial arts. But doing painting, it's like you start with literally the broad strokes.
Yeah.
You use a big ass brush and you lay in color and whatever, and you build up the form. Boom, super fast with broad strokes.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to medium and then build up the painting, and then fine detail has a context for it to live in.
Yeah.
But it is those fine details that finish the work.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like at first, yeah, we're only concerned with, are you standing right? Like even that's hard for people, right? It's like, oh fuck, I don't know how to stand. So you start with the broad strokes so that when you do get down to those details, it's already managed.
Mm.
So another thing that my teacher taught me was, he was like, yeah, like if you can only resolve at a foot, well
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to work at 6 inches. So
Yeah.
now I got twice as much skill as you do.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now you can resolve an inch. Well, now I'm down to centimeters.
Yeah.
Oh, you can resolve centimeters. Well, I'm going to go to millimeters. So when somebody's first starting, they're all over the place, and you don't have to be that precise. You just have to be more precise than them.
Yeah.
And can manage more detail than they can.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think of it like MIDI music that goes one note at a time in a sequence
Mhm.
versus playing harmony in a concerto,
Mm.
right? So you've got like 10 notes going at the same time against one in a series.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, even if you could do one at a time at a faster tempo, the fact that I can resolve more simultaneously means that I'll be able to bring 8 more details to your one.
Yeah.
That your one cancels out my one. Well, I got 8 more coming at you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like position, posture, momentum, all that all at once, instead of this technique and then this technique and that technique. It's
Yeah.
like, I just want to focus on a way of being, and then what I do from the right way of being will be the right thing to do. But
Exactly.
if I'm constantly going, well, what's this technique? Then what do I do here? Just like you get into what if itis.
Yeah.
What if he does this? But what about this? And what if that? It's like, none of that matters. Focus on your balance, your way of being, and then everything else will flow from that.
Exactly. The famous story from the Zhuangzi about Cook Ding, explaining how he carves up an ox perfectly and is using the same knife after 20 years. People love that story, but the operative point is exactly what you just said. It's not about a skill or developing a skill or pursuing a skill. It's about kind of ordering your life and your action around a defining discourse. The Tao can also mean discourse, not just way, not just, it's not really an implication of something metaphysical or outside of nature, the way some religious people in the West will kind of put God outside of the universe. Right. It's one of those things. It's everywhere and nowhere, because it's what are you doing? And a lot of times I find myself saying to students in an exasperated way, what are you doing? But right. On a more serious, I still talk to the guys that I've been working with for over a decade. What are you doing? It's not a criticism. It's I want to know where your head's at, right. So I can understand. Are you working on a variation? Are you working on, are you putting yourself into something now that I've seen that you can follow the principle? Are you making the principle yours? Is it no longer you do my style? Now we're seeing your style emerge.
Right. It's kind of like showing up to pick up your date, and the dad's like, what are your intentions? Right. It's just kind of like, what are you intending to do? Right. Because to me, that's a huge piece of the puzzle, is the practice on the basic level is just shut up and do the forms.
Yeah.
Just embody the postures, just ape the structure,
yeah.
Do the things, and there's very specific ways of doing the form. Okay, so learn that. So you're learning the physical embodiment as a fast track to learn how to manifest your intention.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, the physics of momentum and bodies and how those two interact, well, they manifest in very particular ways because our body patterns don't change. So the physics of the body doesn't change. Okay. So you can externalize the pattern through your body very simply. Like, this is correct, this isn't. Okay, okay, neat, right? So you do that as a way in to understanding how to manifest your intention.
Yeah.
So then you start to understand the difference between the physicality and your intention. So not your thinking and thinking about what's happening, but what do you mean to do? Right?
Yeah.
What is it you're intending to happen?
Yeah.
So then your intention moves first, and your intention is what moves the body. So then you understand the dynamic between your intention and reality in that very dynamic experience, so that you no longer are a slave to the form. You've used the form as the guide to discover the power of your intention.
Yeah.
And then you're freed up from the slavish adherence to this is the only structure that works, the Newtonian cause and effect. And now you're freed up to manifest your intention in ways that look completely wacky and counter to the right structure way of doing things.
Yeah.
So then you can start pulling off shit that doesn't look right, but your intention is so strong that it just works.
Yeah.
And then people are like, what the hell is that? And you're like, well, I wanted you to move more than you didn't want to move.
Yeah.
And my intention is stronger.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what are
Three
you talking
dimensions
about?
are always going to beat one dimension. They're always going to be two dimensions.
Yep. So it's really cool in Chisao where it's really neat because Chisao is structured, right, into very little chaos, into more and more chaos.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like signal to noise ratio. You want to be able to hear the intention from the other person.
Yeah.
And first, that's going to be a very quiet signal with a whole lot of noise around it.
Yeah.
So you're not aware of what it is you're hearing. So it just remains a mystery.
Yeah.
So Chisao starts, okay, there's going to be part A and part B with just one side. So first it'll be Fukusao, then Jutsao, then punch. Then Fukusao, then Jutsao, then punch.
Yeah.
Then you are doing Tansao, boom, Bansao. Huh? And it's just a 3 movement cycle that starts over and over again. So that way your brain doesn't have to worry about, is he going to hit me in the face? Are we out of range? Oh, all the million things you could worry about.
Yeah.
All you're doing, you're not even wondering, what do I do next? Well, it's a 3-move dance, buddy. Like, not that hard.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The only thing that changes is that feeling the other person's initiative through their movement.
Yeah.
So then you go, oh, that's the variable that I'm paying attention to.
Yeah.
So then you get good at being part A on the left, part A on the right, then part B on the left, part B on the right, and then you get it. And then you kind of go, okay, so now let's do 2-handed version, and let's put that into motion, and then feel what that feels like, and then you can go into all the fun variations.
Yeah.
Then it's just kind of a free-for-all. You start connected, but it's kind of like, okay, move the other person.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I found, I had mentioned recently that to Alex and Matt that when you're doing partner training, there's cooperative, uncooperative, and then competitive. 3 stages of development. You do everything in all 3 stages. So if a lot of Northern styles have a method they call feeding, a feeding hand. You take somebody with more experience and you partner them up with a beginner. Beginner will do the defensive motions. The more experienced person, it's just offense. I am just going to throw punches at your chest.
Right,
I'm
because
just
they've
going to
got
throw
the
punches
control
at
to not fuck up the
yeah.
noob.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about getting hit. I am going to make it look that way, but I'm not going to actually hit you. But they're coming right at your nose, and it's not going to be that false sense of security, you know, where you just do that half step or that full step out, where even if they're at full extension,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, you're outside of
forearm
contact
length.
range. Yeah.
So you're close enough that it's real. Your body knows that it's real, but there's a control aspect put on by the more senior person in the pair. You do that cooperatively until the newbie starts to get a little bit of experience themselves. Then that simple, just one hand, one attack, one defense moves up to uncooperative. Now I'm going to change the rhythm. Now I'm going to change the timing. Now I'm going to change the level of perceived force. And that doesn't always make sense to beginners, but those are very distinctly, noticeably different things.
Yeah, between a jab and then.
Yeah, exactly. Am I going to wind up and cut? You know, or is it going to be that Bruce Lee 1-inch punch? Is it going to be something you see more and more in, you know, martial arts fiction? Just the fingers out and then close it into a fist, and you can strike that way. And you know, all the way through to competitive. I am going to try and touch you, and it is going to be a hit because physics.
That's how you learn.
and to use that progression on everything from the basics, from, you know, one motion of one limb versus one motion of one limb, all the way up to the very elaborate choreography of this is an actual fake fight. And you will get hit if you don't perform your half of the choreography correctly. Xing Yi's fighting set is famous for that, where it literally just looks like two guys trying to punch each other out, because it's exactly that. And it's very common to get a lot of people to be like, well, when do we learn that? When I sneak up behind you and I do just the wrist drop and you don't stumble, that's when we'll begin to learn what you need to learn before we do that.
Yeah, your natural way of being should be pretty darn good before you start doing that kind of stuff.
The super elaborate. I like throwing the chops. Everybody loves the chops, but you know, what are you gonna do with that besides get yourself in trouble?
Right, exactly. Oh, I just remembered something. I really wanted to bring it up and talk about it because it's a really weird piece of martial arts history that not a lot of people know about, and it's really common knowledge in the world of magic.
Okay.
Right, so that's kind of my professional background, is being a mentalist and kind of make it look like I can read minds through communication management. That's basically it.
Yeah.
So Houdini, everybody knows him as the escape artist and the world's best magician in the history of ever.
Okay.
Well, that was the first half of his career. The second half of his career was as an exposer of fakes, con men, cheats, spiritualists, mediums, people who claimed to be able to talk to dead people.
Yeah.
He went on an unholy terror of exposing their methods.
Okay.
And a lot of people think that he was doing that because of some sense of noble obligation, but it was actually that he was a mama's boy and his mama had died, and then he wanted to talk to the spirit of his dead mom.
Yeah.
And then all these people who claimed to be able to talk to his mom, which he genuinely wanted them to be able to do.
Yeah.
He went to go see them and then realized they were all just doing shitty magic tricks.
Yeah.
And he got so upset that it was all fake that he was like, fuck it, I'm going for it. And he just starts exposing all sorts of fraudsters and hucksters and that kind of a thing. There's one act that he exposed that there's a lot to this, where most magic tricks work off very simple principles, very simple techniques, and the effect is entirely disproportionate to the amount of effort it takes to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like, wow, that's mind changing. Wow, it's life altering, amazing. And all he did was like, I peaked.
Yeah.
Right. So the done to what it does ratio is crazy big, right? So there's kind of this disregard for the impact that these simple tricks can have, right? Now, before you know how a trick works, you're going, holy shit, that's amazing. There's no way anybody could do that.
Yeah.
And then there's this really weird thing that your brain can't think outside of its own experience.
Yeah.
So 1 minute you're going, this is impossible. The magician tells you how it works. I peek. And then instantly, your brain goes, well, that would never fool anybody. That's too simple. Like that'll never work in a million years. And I'm like, you just paid me $150 to teach you how to do that.
Yeah.
That's how amazing it is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying all of that to say that people, when they find out how something works, disregard its value and ability to create impact. Yeah. They just go, well, that's just a stupid trick. They're just using a trick, right?
Yeah.
So all of that to say, there was this woman in the late 1800s, Lulu Hurst was her name, and she went by the moniker the Georgia Magnet. And back in the day, before movies, before movie theaters were movie theaters, they were performance theaters.
Yeah.
And just like there's a movie theater everywhere, there were performance theaters everywhere. So you went to go see live entertainment. You went to go see live performers, and vaudeville was the Hollywood of the day. So you just show up, and there's usually something going on the stage.
Yeah.
Right? So her act was that nobody could move her. She was like 4'9", maybe 5 foot. Like she was not a large person, right? And this is about the same time as electricity is in vogue, right? And they, like Edison and Tesla, they knew what to do, but they didn't understand why it was working.
Yeah.
So there were all sorts of weird theories about what electricity was and how it interacted in the world. And the best operating theory they had at the time was the ether. Yeah. So the ether was this all-permeating energy source that connects all of reality.
Yeah.
And electricity is just a part of that. So that's how radio waves, they travel through the ether, because the ether is the source of all power. Yeah. You're like, okay, they might have gotten that right for the wrong reasons, but that's a whole rabbit hole anyway. So the Georgia Magnet said, I'm able to channel the ether and to sap your strength into the ether so that you can't move me.
Yeah.
So she would get these huge dudes trying to pick her up, and they couldn't pick her up. So she'd be like, I'm going to sap you of your energy. And she would go through what's essentially a ritual of sapping their energy.
Yeah.
Because she would go, all right, pick me up. So she'd get picked up. So the dude would pick her up super easy. He'd be like, yeah, you're like a sack of potatoes. Boom, done. Then she's like, okay, ritual. Now you won't be able to pick me up. And then they're just going, right? So they couldn't do anything. So she was just immobile. Now, you would think, okay, shit, she's got some advanced level kung fu, right? Like she's got some serious chops, and it must take years to develop that kind of skill. But there's this really cool, just it's right there in the open, and it's so out in the open that it's unimportant, but it's it.
Yeah.
In her advertising, and or like an article of a write-up about her performance, it says she then conferred the power to a 7-year-old boy who is then incapable of being picked up.
Yeah.
So this performer was able to go, hey, Billy, when they try to pick you up, do this, and they won't be able to pick you up.
Yeah.
And it's that simple, right?
Yeah.
So it's not something that takes decades to even get close to doing. Having firm root is just, oh, when they're pushing, you push sideways.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then Houdini went on this whole tirade of, well, it's all just leverage tricks and it's just all deceit, and here's how to be a fake Georgia magnet. They're all the demonstrations that all like the chi masters
Yeah.
use to
Yeah.
show their chi.
Exactly.
But then everybody goes, well, since it's just a trick, it's all fake.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you're missing the point, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't know the trick, it's fucking magic.
Yeah.
Right?
Literally.
So, yeah. So, learning those tricks don't take a lifetime, but they're awesome to know because boy, howdy do they come in handy.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're doing push hands or chi sao or any kind of momentum leverage dynamic interplay, those are the principles that are at work.
Yeah.
So I love and hate how simple they are, but it's kind of weird how people are so quick to dismiss it as, well, that's just a trick.
Yeah.
And dismissing how effective it is.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can get huge, strong, buff people, and then once you understand the simple physics of it, and they're pushing this way, and you just push down a little bit or out, just enough, right? And it feels like magic when you're on the receiving end of it and you don't know what it is. So you learn through your practice to do just enough to work, but no more.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make it obvious of what it is that you're doing. It's just that the other person feels like they're stuck to you or that they can't move you no matter how much they're trying. And the amount that you're applying is very little in relationship to what they're doing. Is just in the wrong direction. And now they're spending most of their energy fighting for the original position instead of applying directional force in the original intention.
Yeah. 4 ounces moves 1,000 pounds.
Exactly. So that's why to me, most Wing Chun that you're going to see completely ignores all of that.
Yeah.
And then favors the, well, we just bash through. We just use our big man muscles and we're bigger, stronger, and faster, and that's it. Like, that's not going to last you very long, buddy.
Yeah.
And to focus on that, you're just going to destroy your body, and now you're going to be even more decrepit into old age.
Yeah.
Or you could learn these simple tricks and then find a million ways to apply them, and now you're just bored. You're just like, yep, boom, yep, I'm moving you this way, yep. So you get really good at feeling the correct angle to really wreck somebody's intention.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that.
Yeah.
Right? So in a way, it's so much easier to learn, to apply. It's easier on your body, but it looks like magic. So then all the people who think, well, it has to look violent to be effective, they just totally discount it as, well, they're just playing along. Those are all choreographed things, and they're just into their Sifu worship, and they've been trained to allow whatever the boss does to do it.
Yeah. I've written about that a little
weird.
Bit, the whole empty force. You see those
Right.
videos on YouTube. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'll tell people, it's chi is real. And yes, there are also fakes that think they're going to, you're not, I think I said this as a tag for one of the earlier videos. You're never going to be Goku. You're not going to wind up and Hadouken people. That's not how it works. This is something realistic to discuss a real principle. It is basically physics. It's just, do you have the knack? You can know the trick. Yes, you know the trick, but you don't have the knack.
Right.
It's going to make it huge. It's a 1,000,000-mile difference, and that's all it takes.
Yeah. When I saw one of your threads about that on Twitter, the thing that instantly came to my mind was, you know how like rock musicians and rock stars will be like, yeah, I'm rich and famous and I'm really good, but this guy you've never heard of is a musician's musician.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always there's the popular, and then there's the the crazy genius that the popular, well-known, talented people go, well, I'm nowhere near talented as that guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's exactly that thing in the world of magic where there are magicians that to a normal audience, they look boring as hell. And they're just like, I don't get what the big deal is. But magicians are sitting there going, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, I have no clue.
Yeah.
This is next level stuff.
Yeah.
And the general public would just be like, I don't get it. I don't see what's going on. But the magician's magician has cultivated the skill of leveraging the standard magician's mindset to its own demise.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what that kind of empty energy is that you can use with a trained martial artist that wouldn't work with some goober off the street, but is devastating to a trained martial artist because they have their box that they're operating within.
Yeah.
So when you can kind of transcend both of those and just go, yeah, I'm just going to go straight for your mind. I don't even need to deal with your body. I'm going to go straight for your mind. Yeah. That's some next level stuff that feels real weird when it works.
Oh yeah. It's fun to watch people with that middle level of experience in the martial arts find all of their preferred techniques, everything they've learned completely dissolved by somebody taking exactly 1/2 step closer to them than they're used to.
Yep. You know? That is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Get closer.
Get close is the safest place. Get right up on top of you. Now you can't hit me.
Yeah, I always say it's like, look, if you refuse to embrace the situation, how do you expect to influence it at all?
Yeah.
So the more you push away your problem, the more you resist the situation, the worse time you're going to have. But if you give up every instinct of pushing it away and instead go, come here, and get comfortable being in that really uncomfortable situation, you're so much better. And you see that doing Chi Sao with people is awesome, right? Because most of the Chi Sao, again, YouTube that you see, all that kind of weird stuff, they're not even in contact range.
Yeah.
Right. So even if they full extension, they couldn't even touch the other person.
Yeah.
And then they're doing fancy hands and all the crazy fast stuff that looks good. But really good Chi Sao that you're going to learn from is uncomfortably close.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you had 3 onions, 2 jalapenos, and a slice of cheese on your sandwich at lunch kind of distance. So it's kind of like elbow touching their chest range.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not clench. It's that far away from clench. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Learning to work there. So then people who aren't used to it will instinctively take that half step back.
Yeah.
And then you just like, nope, come in. I'm like, but I don't want to. It feels bad. I'm like, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Get used to it.
The long range martial arts have the long, middle, short range distance idea. That's great. You teach a child that. You teach a raw beginner, somebody who's had a lot of health problems, maybe low athleticism. That's great for them. Get them, it gets their feet wet. But once you have experience in the martial arts and you want to work on actually being able to defend yourself, it changes from long, middle, short to short, mid, close. And close is, you can't get the hand.
Full body contact.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The short range, that's where it counts, because that's where you're going to fight.
Right.
Somebody who knows how to fight. And in today's martial arts climate, people really value mixed martial arts because they see those UFC tournaments. They see these people using these techniques. So, I make the assumption 7 out of 10 people I see in the street, if I have a conflict with them, they're going to try and grab me by the waist. They're going to try and grab one of my legs, especially because I'm over 6 feet tall.
They're going to shoot. Yep.
Yeah. I'm expecting that. I'm prepared for that. How do you deal with that?
Right.
I try to impress on my guys. This is what you want to do. I had actually said in another recent episode, you want to be prepared for somebody with Brazilian jiu-jitsu, make friends with a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy and have him do a single leg takedown on you repeatedly.
Again,
ready
again and again.
If you do get on your back, how do you get off your back? You know, get
Yep.
enough experience with that, and then you'll be able to pull off that stuff that I was doing when I was sick, where somebody goes like this and I go like this right to the ear.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
How do you do that?
Yeah,
Learn how to do
that's
it.
a really good point, because a lot of times, so Sunim Tao is the first form that
Mhm.
teaches you your boundaries. It's basically your full systems check
Yeah.
of, okay, what's my structure? Where's the center line? Okay, here's my angles. Done. Chum Q is seeking bridges,
Yeah.
loosely translated, and it teaches you how to move with that structure without losing proper alignment.
Yeah.
So you kind of learn to move in straight lines and rotate, right?
Okay.
And most folks think of Chum Q as, okay, how do I close distance? Right? So I'm not connected. How do I now close distance to connect with that other person?
Yeah.
And to me, that's always been a wacky way of thinking. It's like, no, the other dude is going to close your distance for you.
Yeah.
Like, he's bringing the sauce to you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you don't have to worry about how do I get to it. It's like, they're going to bring it to you.
Yeah. Worry about receiving. Don't worry about attacking.
Exactly. So it's kind of like making and breaking bridges.
Yeah.
All right, that other guy is close distance and he's connected to you. How do you break that connection in the most efficient way for you, most effective way for you?
Yeah.
Right? How do you navigate that receiving momentum dynamic from being yourself to now being connected to another human being to managing that new entity called the both of you? How do you manage that new center that moves as each of you move?
Yeah.
So that's a really cool, fun kind of way of thinking about it. It's like, yeah, you're gonna get your distance closed anyway, dude. Like, gonna get real close, real fast.
Yeah. And right there is that principle that everybody can cite from the art of war, from any kind of martial arts literature. Use stillness to wait for movement or defeat movement. Oh, what does that mean? That's exactly what it means. You're going to try and hit me anyway. I don't need to, I don't need to tee it up for you and put that chin out there. I'm not going to point you to the sweet spot. Just you do it, and we'll find out what happens from there.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to notice how all the kind of kung fu masters are like, yeah, attack me.
Yeah.
Because they know. It's like, it's really, really tough to attack somebody while maintaining your integrity.
Yeah.
Right. So to attack somebody else always leaves something open that they could capitalize on. So of course the master isn't going to attack because he knows he's going to leave himself vulnerable. So he's like, oh, I'm in the bad situation. You attack me.
Yeah.
And he's just basically going, hey, open yourself up. Come on, give me something to work with here.
Yeah.
And then the students wonder why they can't get a hold of him, right?
Yeah. You combine that with your body tells me what you're going to do, and that's where you get it.
Yeah.
I make it a point to tell people that, whatever your guard position is, whatever your stance, whatever your opening posture is for any style, the real position that all martial arts emerge from, is that standing at attention before you actually begin any sort of form or routine.
Arms by your side.
Yeah. The natural stance.
There you go. Yep.
And that's where you get, Xing Yi will divide tactics into the superior method and the borrowing method. Everything basically breaks down into that. And the superior method is what we just mentioned. I'm going to stand still. You're going to pick an attack. You're going to come in on that one line, that one dimension, and now I have everything else to work with. You showed me the 1 in a million that is closed for me. I have everything else open. Yep. The borrowing method is, if we're both going to do that, how do you draw somebody out? All right. I'm going to borrow your reaction to this eye poke or this crotch shot or this, but make it look like you're going to get the stereotypical reverse chop to the throat. And what are you going to do about that? That's what I want. I want whatever you're going to do there. But then that just becomes what I'm borrowing from you is your attack, your response. Now we go back to, I'm going to emerge from a position of emptiness.
Yeah. The example that's always stuck in my mind is, okay, you're in a car and you're merging onto the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could and there's another car in the lane. So you could merge and try to hit the gas and go ahead of the other car, but you don't know what kind of engine that car has.
Yeah.
So you could go in ahead of it, but then it could just ram you from behind, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you could let it go slightly ahead, fall in behind it, and now it's a lot easier to just draft and let it call the shots.
Yeah.
And you just stay in the pocket.
Yeah.
And it's very, very frustrating for the other driver.
Exactly. And that's, again, in northern styles, pretty much all of them beyond the most basic have the concept of following. You know, you let the enemy take the lead, you follow. Well, what does that mean? Come on. You know, I mean, it literally means what follow means in a non-martial arts context. And people will use that, you know, I've heard plenty of people. I just got my driver's license for the first time.
Awesome.
So, you know, I had to just restrain myself not to be like, I get that reference you're making.
Well,
but you know, if you can make that metaphor, if you can use that image, all right, you know what it is. Now instead of cars, it's fists. It's that simple.
Yep. And it's kind of yeah. So doing that is really tough for folks. And then it's kind of after that, okay, now you can learn to impose your will in a way that is effective.
Yeah.
But man, that's the most dangerous gamble possible.
Yeah.
Right. Is okay, I'm gonna make this happen. You're like, okay,
are you?
Good luck.
Are you? Yeah.
Good luck.
Again, we're right back to it. I wouldn't do that shit if I were you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, what happens if the other person doesn't do the thing? And you're like, well, then they're not attacking you. Like, what? So you want to be the asshole? Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Get out.
Right. You're volunteering to go to jail?
Right.
Well,
it's like, there's a reason.
Right there.
Yeah. This is the reason it's called self-defense, not other person attack.
Yeah.
I mean, just they're running into your boundary. That's it. If they weren't trying to violate your boundary, they wouldn't get hurt on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of disappointing the way people don't really value leaving it out there. Structurally, for a lot of the best martial arts, will have one way or another leave it out there. Yes, you know, as we just said, you're striking from that natural position with your arms by your side, but if the fight's already on, you're not going to go back to that every time. If your hands are up, just leave it out there. You know, if you're holding a fist up, let them run into it. It's fine.
Right. And that's the thing. You don't have to deliver the fist. You just have to present it.
Yeah.
And then they're hitting it. That really helped me not overextend when I was first learning, because it's another one of those manifestations of, I wish it were over there.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with what's happening right here. So I'm going to try to deal with it way over there, which takes me off balance, off base. It now reduces my effectiveness.
Yeah.
So then realizing, oh no, I'm the wall, and I present it. I go, okay, if I extend any farther, like if I do that, now it's too far. Okay.
Yeah.
So then it really helps understand that, you know, my area of influence is a lot smaller than I want it to be. Right? I wish I could handle stuff that's way over there, but man, my range that's maximum range right here, and that's hugging distance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've told a lot of my students, if you're going to find yourself in a situation with somebody like me, somebody my size. So what you want to do is, I'll hold my arm up. You see how long that is? If you're going to stand out here, you're going to lose, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to look
all
great.
Day long.
You need to take that step in, come into here. You know, like, well, that doesn't work you always, yes, I have deliberately spent a decade plus learning how to defend myself for when somebody your size gets inside my arms, because most people my size are going to lose. If you're standing where my elbow is,
right.
Most 6-footers are going down. All you need to do is just come there, and it doesn't take a lot of force. You just need that position. So you work on this, and that will give me an opportunity to work on defending myself from all of you weird rabid midgets.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a really good point of closing in. Just get in the right range. Don't play the other person's game. because they're used to it. So get in. So then it's that kind of short range power generation through just being a single unit. So you're not separate tools. You just are Kung Fu. Yeah. So everything that touches the other person is delivering the momentum. Yeah. It just depends on what body part are they going to touch, right?
Exactly.
So oftentimes it's so delightful for me when a lot of Tai Chi folk show up to the meetup, right? Because their go-to strategy is yielding, right? Like that's their go-to thing, is to get out of the way. Yeah. And I'm like, awesome, free pass to your center.
Yeah.
Thank you. So just do all this wacky stuff that just puts them off balance, and you just hunt the center and it just goes right to it.
Yeah.
So they're just like, what is going on? I'm like, direct path always beats indirect path.
Exactly. And
they're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah.
I've had that experience too. You practice push hands yet? Yeah, I've been doing it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, clearly you haven't, because if you had, this wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have been that easy.
Right. So it's kind of like, well, develop the direct path first.
Yeah.
And just go straight there. Then be aware of when your direct approach is being diverted.
Yeah.
To not keep that dead approach alive, because then you got zombie technique. That's not good. So let the dead thing die. Yeah. And now you're in indirect methods.
Yeah.
Now that still is the most direct path, because the straight line direct path is blocked. So the shortest space between you and effectiveness is now that indirect way.
Yeah.
So it's still always the most direct path. It just happens to be the indirect method.
Yeah.
And that sounds like crazy talk until you feel it and you can do it. And you go, oh yeah, that was the most efficient way that it was going to work, if it was going to work. Anything else would have just been excess craziness. So meeting people that are just excess craziness, you're just like, thank you for the free pass. I appreciate it.
That look. I mean, I know I there's this look that comes over my face when most people want to start, let's compare, or even better, let's fight.
Right.
I love that. You're like, you don't seem scared. No, it's not my birthday. What day is today? Why are you giving me presents?
Right, exactly. Because like the very fact that you're saying something that stupid tells me you're not smart enough to not say it.
Yeah, it's great. I love being handed a free win. There's nothing like building reputation.
Yep. Yeah, because there's a really cool dude. Like I respect him a lot, because he's been working with me for several months now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those cases where he showed up like with his swords, like his Tai Chi swords were in the holder. Like, this is a meetup. Like, it's a $5 meetup, open to the public. I'm like, fucker, I don't know you. We're not using swords today. All right. So we're gonna leave those over there. And I was like, so what's your background? And he goes, oh, I've done Wing Chun with this guy, that guy. I've done a month-long intensive with this dude and this, that, the other thing for months and years. I've been doing this stuff. I'm like, oh,
mm-hmm.
okay. And he's like 6 something, and he's a big boy, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, so after doing all that stuff, I figured I would do some Tai Chi to kind of round it all out. And that was kind of the meal ticket. And I was like, oh, round it all out. Okay, yeah. So what you're saying is you didn't understand one system enough to know that you just pretty much pick a system to cultivate yourself. You're done, because it's all physics.
Yeah.
So you thought you would round it out. So what you're telling me is you don't understand a thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. We have this little game called Chi Sao. Have you ever done Chi Sao before? He's like, oh yeah, I love Chi Sao. Okay, cool. So then he stands there, and then I take a step forward, and then he's like, takes a step back. I'm like, no, don't move.
Yeah.
Here we go. Move me. He's like, wait, what? I'm like, just move me. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to move me. Like, that's it. If you have to move to do it, you lose.
Yeah.
So that's it. He goes, oh, okay. And then I just start moving them, just like burp,
Yeah.
merp, merp. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Kung Fu. Come on, let's go." So I love kind of push hands or chi sao as a safe place for your ego to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Right? So without your face having to get messed up with punches, there's no denying that that person just moved me, and there's nothing I could have done about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad this wasn't a fight.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's no faking it, right? Like, I've been moved around a lot before. Like, it is a frustrating, terrifying experience. So that's kind of one of those things that you have to do the first time somebody shows up.
Yeah.
Is you have your ideas of how badass you think you are and how amazing you are.
Yeah.
Well, we've developed this safe way of emptying your cup, showing you that all those ideas are not in alignment with reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to his credit, he was like, "Okay, this is what I've been looking for. Like, this is,
Yeah.
I can't explain what it is that you're doing. I need to learn." And then he just keeps showing up to get his ass kicked. And to me, that's one of the most amazing, respectable things
Yeah.
that can happen, is just getting showed the hell up and then just kind of going, "You know what? I needed that.
Yeah.
Awesome. We can work together." And if he did that to me, fuck, I'm going to learn from you. Like,
Yeah.
that's the right way to go about it. It's like, I'm not some badass. It just happens to be that I just know more about this thing than
Yeah.
you do right now. So I want to share it with you to get you better, so I get better too.
Yeah.
And if
Oh.
you could kick my ass, awesome. I'm going to ask you a shitload of questions about how I could do it too.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had two of the big challenges in my experience are exactly what you talked about, finding those people who are willing to admit that their ideas of martial arts aren't necessarily what martial arts are. Or, "Oh, I know this style already." Do you? If you knew Tai Chi, you wouldn't just go limp every time somebody came at you. You know, you would know how to use the soft to beat the hard or subdue the hard. The other big challenge is the excuse making. "Well, you only beat me because, well, look at you. That's why you beat me." That, yeah, I am this size, but that's not why I beat you. I beat you because of what's up here, not because of what I am. It's what I did.
I have learned how to integrate my intention and my being into a single entity.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I can do anything.
Yeah.
Is I've learned to pull it all into alignment. Oh, what's the word for that? Integrity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy. There's a set of documents in Xingyi attributed to the legendary Song Dynasty General Yu Fei. It's Yu Fei's 10 important theses. First one is integrity. It's all about, why do you spend the traditional way of teaching the style is 1 to 3 years just learning Santi-Shur, the basic stance.
Mm-hmm.
Why that long? You have to learn how to integrate. And it's not just a structural integration, because most people, even in a culture like China, where they don't really have the mind-body dichotomy that Westerners have, there's still that sort of inadvertent, unstated mind-body split. You just have it because you're not used to moving in a certain way or thinking in a certain way. So it's a lot of time spent to integrate that as well. You need to have inside and out one, not just upper and lower, not just left and right, not just front and back. There's also inside and outside. So it goes a long way to that diamond in the rough of just like, oh man, I've taught a couple hundred people and I have 2 students basically. Mm-hmm. Two people that I'm like, you're not going to make me look bad. Even if you lose, you're not going to make me look bad.
Right. What is it? It's tough to find a teacher and even more difficult to find a student.
Oh, yeah. I didn't appreciate that for a long time. And then, probably about 30, 31, just sitting there going, this is depressing. I don't even want the money anymore. I just want, I want to be able to say something that seems normal to me and not have somebody be like, well, what do you mean? Well, I don't think it's that way. It's like, fuck,
right.
we're sitting here eating pizza now. The fighting ended half an hour ago. Why are you still trying to fight me? Come on.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That, to me, there's a huge thank you moment where the kind of the first guy that I started working with, he told me, he was like, hey, like just 2 weeks ago, he was like, you know what? I just want to thank you because this week there were some things that happened, people trying to breach my boundaries, and I not only could see that it was happening, I could also deal with it as it was happening before it became a problem.
Yeah.
And before working with you, I wouldn't have been able to see it and address it. So that was a very direct application of everything that you've been sharing. I'm just like, my baby done grown up. Yes.
Excellent.
Right. So it's just kind of a good, like, all right, good. They're learning it and applying it. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. Promote that guy. Well, you
Right.
stand there and be reasonable with the newbies. He gets to stand there with the arms folded and scowl at them.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
So here, Chisao him. You go for him. Yeah.
yeah. It's time to devote an hour or two every night to standing in the mirror, practicing that shit talk response.
Right.
My student can handle you.
Allow me to introduce you to my left-hand man.
Right? That's all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah, it's good times. Yep. Yeah, that whole integration of everything into a whole is it. Yeah. So that's all it is a unified intention. That's really it. Part of it is, well, part of me doesn't want to not hit you. Part of me does want to hit you. Part of me is thinking about pizza later. Part of me is thinking about this.
Yeah.
Nope. The only thing I'm doing is being here right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then I put my mind into your body, and now my body manifests through your defense into your center, and that moves you.
Yeah.
Right? That's my mind moves you. I'm like, no, but you did something. I'm like, yeah, I use my mind.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? It's like, well, how much power are you using? Like, none. Like, it's this really weird kind of, when you start to use your intention instead of tension or resistance.
Yeah.
Is that no matter what the vector of connection is, your physiological response stays on target. The vector doesn't change, even though the outside manifestation of the dynamic is weird.
Yeah.
It's this really strange thing where, okay, I'm going to go straight from here to here.
Yeah.
But then you get between here and it deviates me, but my intention is still going the same way.
Exactly.
So now instead of going this way, it goes this way. So through the point of contact, it still connects to the place I want to go.
Yeah.
So even though my hand does this, my intention does that, and it just manifests through a weird kind of way.
Yeah.
But my focus stays in exactly the same laser point. So it doesn't matter what shape this takes, my mind still goes where it's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no matter what the other person's doing, they're just giving you a pathway to get where you want to go.
Exactly.
And then it looks like you're breaking all the rules. Well, you didn't do the Chisao of the thing. You were doing a perfect Tonsao to Bonsao. It was this weird thing. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a weird thing.
Oh,
Get on my level.
Yeah, it takes more skill to look disordered than it does to look ordered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where you get those really interesting strategies. You know, people love the drunken boxing in the movies. Oh, that wouldn't work in real life, though. Oh, it definitely works in real life, and there's a reason for it. It's, again, you know, thinking outside the box, getting outside of those preconceptions. If you can't do that, you can't do this.
Right.
And there does come a point where you have to throw away what you learned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people struggle to get to the point where, you know, making what you learned from the teacher yours. My Xingyi teacher is exactly a foot smaller than me and almost 100 pounds lighter than me. So it's not really going to work
Right.
for me to do what he does. I made it mine. And some of the classmates were like, well, you don't do it like Ty. And Ty's like, why would he? Look at him. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you extend your arm as far as he does, but still have the elbow bent, still have the shoulder dropped? It's just, if I'm 30% bigger, it's going to be 30% bigger. If
Right.
You know, you have to use your advantages, you know.
Right. It's kind of like the forms are a particular type of boundary that creates the context where its lesson is applicable.
Yeah.
So that you could learn that lesson. Then the next step transcends and integrates that context into a broader dynamic where there are new possibilities that seem like they're a contradiction, but it's really an incorporation and an advancement of that idea.
Yeah.
The shape that takes in Wing Chun is, again, the first form teaches you basic structure, head over shoulders, over hips, the thing. You're just like, I am Kung Fu Man.
Yeah.
Then the second one, again, is movement and sideways rotation. Kind of like my chair can rotate this way. You're rotating on your vertical axis.
Yeah.
So that vertical axis stays vertical through the whole form. So even if it moves this way and moves that way and can rotate, it never does that.
Yeah.
Right. So you learn to keep that axis straight. But then the third form, you start like, there's this wacky thing where you like bend over and you're like, well, that vertical line gets broken. Now it's tipping. What are you talking about? So from your feet to your head, that vertical line from Chum Kiu that stays vertical the whole time, Biu-Ji is a compression of your axis of rotation from a line down to a point. So now your point of your Dantian, your center of mass, now it's that point that stays, that it moves, and the rest of it can rotate and it can move around, but you've got full control of this single point. And by moving that point, everything around it moves like crazy, but it's because you've got absolute control of that point. So now you can move and be in really weird positions, but it's because it's driven by that point, that it has that same feel and same structure as you have when you're upright Kung Fu Man. So you can start doing that kind of weird drunken boxing stuff that you're like, well, Wing Chun is this is Wing Chun. You're like, yeah, but is it though?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like you're leaving out a whole bunch of cool shit that you've got to do when you mess up. Because okay, yeah, the perfect thing would just be Kung Fu Man. Then less perfect is, well, now I got to move. Now I got to get out of the way. And then when you're applying those principles, you're human, so you're going to mess up even worse. Well, here's how you're going to get out of that bad situation. You're going to have to do some really weird stuff.
Yeah.
So do it with power.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of weird to see students go, well, you just did a weird thing. And I'm like, yeah, I willingly put myself in a worse position so that I could play with getting out of it.
Yeah.
By doing the thing that looks wrong, but is the right thing to do when you are wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
you're never going to learn how to neutralize traps unless you fall into a few traps. That's a frustrating thing about that old staple argument among martial artists. You're not better than me. It's like, oh, the fact that you said that means I am. Come on, like we're trying to have a civilization here. We're trying to work on, let's build each other up. It's not
right.
Competition is useful for growth, but you can't live your life there. You can't. You can't be rigid. That's a type of rigidity. So I always want to keep myself vertical. Yes, I want to keep myself vertical, but how do you, you're not going to start a random street fight with a guy that learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and be like, yeah, buddy, I don't go to the ground, so we're just going to keep this up here.
He's like, today you do. Boom.
Exactly. That's it. You get what you deserve. So it's worth. There's one of the Xingyi documents. It makes a point about Santi Shur. From the side, it looks straight. From the front, it looks crooked. A lot of people argue about that, but it is literally what it sounds. If you see the famous Xingyi book by the early 20th century master Sun Lutang, everything is from the side. He's demonstrating the patterns and the positions and stuff. Looks bolt upright. But if you look straight on, it leans off just to the side like that.
Yep.
Your torso is still bolt upright. But if you've got one foot in back and you bend that knee and you put, 60 to 80% of your weight on it, it has to go like that, because you don't have, unless you're one of those people who has, one leg is an inch longer than the other, then it's going to be still perfectly level. And it doesn't,
right.
You have to be able to accommodate for a three-dimensional body in a three-dimensional space.
And
so
that's
certain
it.
things are going to happen.
This is for one of my, I've got just kind of a top,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a glass top. So yeah, it's round, and it's straight line now, right? Like that's what it is. So it's kind of like a satellite orbiting Earth is not in a circular orbit.
Exactly.
It's following a straight line path through curved space-time.
Yeah.
It is just going in a straight line.
Yeah.
But from a different dimension, it looks like it's a circle or a curve. When really it's a straight thing through a space that curves. So it's this really, really cool thing in Sudamtao. Like you've got I call it the static center line, which is your center line that never changes because, hey, you're done growing, you're done.
Yeah.
So this is your center line. You have your center line, and then we have a dynamic center line between our center lines.
Okay.
So the person who maintains proper orientation of their center line with the dynamic center line while having the other person off the dynamic center line has the better position, that kind of a thing. So all of the postures are in alignment with your center line to cover the direct pathway to your center line.
Yeah.
But say a dude's over there, my center line's here, dynamic center line's there. I punch towards that. It's still a straight line punch in reference to me.
Yeah.
But since I add a rotation through external physical space, it describes a circle.
Yeah.
But it's because that's an external frame of reference, it looks like a circle, but it's actually still just a straight line punch if you measure in reference to the inertial body.
Yeah.
So it's like, good Lord, I wish more Wing Chun people understood that, because they're always like, it's the straight line art. It's the straight line between here and there. And you're like, yes, but your straight line through curved space-time is going to be an indirect path.
Yeah.
So even your straight line punch, because you shift a little bit, is actually a curved attack that cuts through at an oblique angle through there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is
that whole thing there. People have that, the kinesthetic body maps, an image of a body as what the person unconsciously emphasizes or values the most about themselves. A giant face, one giant hand, maybe a stomach, some genitals, and a haircut. It's like, you think it's just a fist magically flying around through space, obeying your will. And you still don't get, how do you not, how do you have that idea but not get this metaphor when it's so
go gadget fist?
Yeah. It's the challenges of being a teacher.
Yeah.
That's why the old masters were very lucky. They could just beat people until they stopped asking questions.
Yep. But it's just so weird, again, to have people claiming to have the direct sauce and then doing all this indirect weirdness of like excessive trapping hands because Wing Chun's good with trapping, so we're gonna cover all the things and we're gonna do all the stuff. And I'm like, have you ever tried just doing that?
Yeah.
Like, have you tried? I'm going to trademark the CPS, the cow plow system. That's it. The CPS, proprietary Jonathan Pritchard trademarked CPS fighting, which is the cow plow system. It's just like, well, be the cow plow. Just go through and move them out of the way. Like, there you go. Yeah.
One of my favorite Jackie
I
Chan
can't.
movies, The Fearless Hyena.
Fearless Hyena. All
This
right.
is this is a
Writing
great.
that
This
down.
is from before he had really discovered his unique combination of action and comedy when he was making more serious movies.
Uh-huh.
It's a typical revenge tale. You killed grandfather at, kung fu villain wipes out a clan, hunts the survivors. You can't show our kung fu. You have to keep it a secret. And, the kid's always getting into fights.
Uh-huh.
So he ends up learning basically a more advanced technique that's patterned after the basic emotions. And one of them is sorrow. You use sorrow when you can't beat this guy with something like anger. So it's just coming right up. What do people who are feeling sorrow do? They come up, they want to hug, they get nice and close, cry on your shoulder. And it's a whole bunch of techniques that basically involve him coming up and just latching onto this guy. Or leaning on this guy's by if it's back to back, he just leans on the guy. He's making these noises, disguising the strategy in it. And
that's really cool.
People love that aspect of the martial arts, and I do too. I'm not gonna lie. I was probably about 5 years old the first time I saw an extremely inappropriate martial arts movie for a 5-year-old. Chinese Super Ninjas, or Five Element Ninjas, Shaw Brothers classic. It's arguably one of the most bloody movies ever made by the Venoms.
Outstanding.
And I saw that and was like, oh, my parents finally woke up. I was like, I want that. I want to do that. My mom's like, no.
Damn it.
We play hockey. You're going to play hockey. But
that's phenomenal.
To going back to what you had said earlier about the tricks, yeah, it's a trick. It's something really simple, but you have to master that trick, to internalize that trick to the point where you can use it in any situation. Then you can worry about dressing it up, having another magic principle, a little misdirection so that you don't notice how simple and obvious this really is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because I experience that often when I get done with my mentalism show. It's really good. Like it is very convincing demonstrations of mind-to-mind communication, which are impossible. So like I'm straight up a fucking mind reader, right? Yeah. So then people are like, I've heard about this kind of stuff. I've never known if it's actually real. This guy looks real, so let me go ask him what the deal is. So then they'll come up to me and then they'll be like, okay, what's the trick? So then I say, well, this isn't real in the sense that I'm telepathic.
Yeah.
Kind of like a magician does tricks with boxes and tigers. I do tricks with information.
Yeah.
However, there's no kind of pat answer. So it's kind of like asking a concert pianist, okay, so what's the trick to playing Rachmaninoff? Well, the trick is you just hit the right keys in the right order at the right time.
Yeah.
That's the only trick to it, and spending time doing that trick.
Yeah. Yeah. Telepathy isn't real, but I can read your mind.
Exactly. So that's why, to me, when people discount, like I said, all these things as just a trick, it's like, well, try doing it.
Yeah.
So that's why, to me, teaching people how to do a magic trick is phenomenally effective at helping them become better communicators. Exactly. Because they'll know, oh, I have to do the right thing the right way.
Yeah.
Then they'll do the right thing the right way. They'll do the sleight of hand properly. They'll do it the right way, but they'll do it at the wrong time. Yeah. And then there's like, well, I did everything and the person didn't experience magic. Like, well, there's no effect. There's no impact if you don't do the right thing at the right time, the right way.
Exactly.
You have to have all those three done the right way in order for there to be impact. And then you're like, holy shit, that's Kung Fu. I got to do the right thing at the right way at the right time. Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing, man.
Watching that realization is the best.
Watch
Kung
that
Fu,
light go on.
it's not just punches and kicks. Kung Fu is any sort of skill that you've developed in a particular context or a long period of time that you can apply spontaneously, without that excessive contrivance.
Right. Wait, I need you to stand right here. I need you to stand right there. You're like, this isn't a magician. This is
right?
a joker.
Yeah,
right?
66% of the time it works every time.
Right. Dude, one of the things that I love about that kind of realization of Kung Fu and what it is and development of skill is when somebody first shows up, you can affect them. You can create impact with Sunim Tao stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It's just very, very basic. And then you teach them Sunim Tao. And then Sunim Tao doesn't really work all that well. And you're like, okay, well now I got to use Chum Q shit to affect them. So they're like, what is that? And then you teach them Chum Q, and then Chum Q stuff isn't as easy to use on them anymore. So then you start doing the wacky indirect stuff of Bujit, and you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
So it's just really cool to get your opponent more effective at defending themselves from you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're leveling up your own skills by making your challenges better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I need
you to be good so that I can get better.
Yeah. So it's just really cool to see. I'm so glad that I've had such a background in magic, and helping people understand the techniques of magic are still useful once you understand how they work, right? And going through that, well, nobody would be amazed at that. So I worked at a magic shop at Universal Studios, selling magic tricks to tourists from all over the world, who would lay down $200 to buy stuff. I teach them how it works, and then they're like, I want my money back. This won't fool anybody. Like it did you 5 minutes ago. So I learned kind of how to navigate that. So it's kind of that experience in Kung Fu of being able to move somebody around however you want because they don't know anything. You teach them the basics, and then they go, oh, okay. And then they're like, that's all you were doing? That's it? Like, yeah, that was it. I went from here to there. Like that. Yeah. That was it. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I thought this was some kind of bit. And you're like, we'll get there. So then by mastering the basics, then you can then do all those kind of wacky stuff. So it's just really cool.
Yeah. I've had a lot of interesting conversations with people with a non-Chinese martial arts background, a martial art from some other part of the world, and explain to them that what drew me to Chinese martial arts is they recognize the distinction between the sort of martial art that a small person uses to defend themselves against a bully that's larger, and then the sort of martial art that you use to defend yourself against somebody who's learned to beat up people bigger than them, and then the sort of martial art you learn to use against, and the way that there's a holographic sort of structure that gets built up. One of my good friends learned karate growing up, and I'm like trying to tell him, I talked to him about internal martial arts, and he'd say, well, it seems like a lot of trouble. Why would you learn it? It's like, well, this style is for people to defend themselves against somebody like you. You're average height, but you're tough as nails. You're a lot stronger than you look, and you know how to fight. What's a sickly person, a skinny person, kind of a person with low athleticism going to do against someone like you other than get eaten alive? They can learn this, and it's going to, again, bringing it back to, you've got a developed sort of intuition about martial arts based on your training and experience. This is a way for somebody that isn't going to outstrip you physically to learn how to take advantage of your cultivated intuition and expectations. Mm-hmm. So this style is for dealing with people like you. Well, that's not your specialty. No, my style is for taking care of people like me, people that have, the martial arts eventually produced people who love martial arts for the sake of martial arts. And now they're going to go and devour all of your techniques, because they're not going to try to learn your techniques. They're going to try to learn your principles. How do you deal with somebody that can do that? This is how you deal with somebody that can do that. And that's what makes an advanced martial art. That's why every 100 years, 200 years, something that was completely unstoppable, overwhelming, overpowered becomes, just 1 or 2 notches lower.
Mm-hmm.
And someday, hopefully, we'll get back there and there'll be more.
Yeah.
I would love to meet somebody who looks like a magician or some sort of supernatural entity compared to Bagua is the most advanced martial art that I've learned. And I find a lot of people getting that magic show reaction. How did you do that? Well, I just stepped over here. But how did you do? I stepped over here. Your eyes only go in this direction. If I step over to this direction,
Yep.
It's real simple.
Exactly.
All those fun conversations. What's walking in a circle going to do? It's going to do this. They blink.
Where'd you go?
Yep. And with the size thing too, now that I'm back to my normal weight, it's just like chef kiss. It's that much better because now it's no longer, well, I could still, if you just, could you?
Right.
Could you?
Right. See, to me, the kind of internal art approach to me is the only strategy that is omni-applicable.
Yeah.
The external this then that technique based manifestation of principles is always contextually based on the interaction.
Yeah.
And you could go your whole life and never see that particular dynamic, so that technique will never be useful.
Yeah.
Whereas if you always focus on what was it? It's kind of like a really good coach doesn't fix your problems. They give you cues for excellence. Right? They just kind of go, when this happens, this is a cue to do this.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of, okay, stop doing that, stop doing that. You're like, okay, I don't know how to stop doing that. So you give them physical cues for particular patterns of behavior. And then they kind of go, oh, now I know what I'm doing. And they automatically improve by naturally stop doing what it is you would have told them to stop doing. Yeah. Because they now no longer have the room to do the thing that they should have stopped doing because they now have the proper cues to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So to me, the internal focus is a consistent awareness of your own momentum and balance. And every moment is a new context to explore that dynamic.
Yeah.
So you'll never be lost because you always know, oh, it's my balance. It's my way of being. Yeah. That I should focus on. So now it doesn't matter what situation you're in or what dynamic you're interacting with. There's no external awareness needed, really. It's more of a maintaining an internal awareness of how you're interacting with reality.
Yeah.
So that's always applicable. There's never a time where that's not applicable. So that's why I would say it's the study and science of being.
Yeah.
Not doing.
Yeah.
What do you do here? What do you do here? And I'm like, probably focus on your balance. Are you tired of me telling you the same thing? Just be here. Be where you are, and then use your intention to move through space where you are.
Yeah.
The universe will make space for you.
Yeah.
How are you gonna go against somebody who is fully present in in the universe?
Yeah.
Good luck moving that asshole.
Right?
Nope. With your, I want you out of the way, buddy.
Yeah. Waving a finger. Yeah, it's not going to work. There definitely comes a point where you have to be able to teach yourself to advance because there's only so much material. There's only so much knowledge that a teacher can pass on, even with a really strong lineage tradition. We've got the accumulated experience of this many generations. That's great, but we're not living that many generations ago. We're living now, and now people do.
Right. I'm standing in front of you.
Yeah.
Move me.
Yeah.
Not with your ancestor.
Yeah.
With you.
Exactly. That wouldn't work for this reason. Are you sure? Because it looks like it works.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a million reasons why this won't work. And I'm making use of the one way it will.
Yeah, we don't need to be in that place. We're in this place.
Yeah.
But
ta-da!
Yeah, the challenge of a martial arts teacher. What
Yeah,
if you just
it's
weren't
fun.
an asshole just this one time?
Imagine that. Like I know it's tough to think outside your limited boundaries, but have you ever tried not being an asshole?
Yeah.
Just once.
Yeah.
Like, I would have never thought about that. That that
Yeah.
sounds wacky.
Yeah. And there's the problem. You wouldn't have thought of this. It's right there,
Yep.
right in front
Yep.
of you.
That's it. And yeah, it's once you understand that you can't move without effect.
Yeah.
That there's nothing that you do that isn't without consequence.
Yeah.
It's that whole, well, what, you're not punished because of your anger, you're punished by your anger, right? It's kind of like the
Yeah.
effects of your actions are always immediately in effect.
Yeah.
There's no separating the cause, effect, consequence, right? It's all the same thing through a fractal wave through space-time.
Yeah.
It's super weird. It's just that your sensitivity to its consequences are usually so low that it needs to amplify more and more until the problem becomes big enough for you to go, "Oh, where the hell did that come from? It's a fucking tsunami wave."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you caused it by going boop, and it's rippled, and you fed it enough energy until it's now a huge wave coming back at you.
Yeah.
Learn to get more sensitive to feel these little ripples, and then it'll look like you're doing nothing, but everything's happening.
Yeah.
I don't get it. How are you doing that? You're like, the basics.
The basics. You're so talented. How did you develop this? I stopped telling myself things and started just.
I did one thing a day, and that was a lot more than weeks of reading.
Yeah.
I did this every day.
Every
That's
day.
all you do. That's what excellence looks like, folks.
Yeah.
Playing along at home.
Yeah. If only you could convince people that they are allowed to practice on their own, away from teacher's glance.
Right. And oh man, that's a huge thing. I'm like, if the only time you do this stuff is with me, you're never going to get better.
Yeah.
It's like, if you only practice piano when the teacher's there,
yeah,
good luck.
Yeah,
it's like the teacher gives you feedback. You spend the next week applying that feedback,
yeah,
developing new bad habits that they then address, and then you get rid of those.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that interesting way that negative reinforcement works better, but positive talk also works better. So you have to develop that way. I'm gonna very positively, upliftingly tell you, don't ever fucking do that again.
Yep. And it has to be emotionally impactful enough for them to understand the magnitude of the communication.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's a time where a buddy and we were filming some stupid promo stuff, and he was on fire. Right? He was literally accidentally on fire. Like
Okay.
it was a mistake. This was not intentional, because he had been on fire before intentionally, and he was fully aware of it. This was a time where he was on fire and unaware of it, and it was bad.
Yeah.
And I just casually said, "You're on fire." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "You're on fire." And he goes, "God damn," right? And put himself out. But I was too calm about a thing that required more emotional content, right? Like I needed to communicate more urgency. I was very clear with the message, but I lacked the urgency that dynamic required.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't communicate the right thing, which was, this is an immediate problem that needs solving right now. So being too calm about it was inhibiting the effective conclusion of the dynamic.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So sometimes you have to use anger as a communication tool for somebody who can only understand the importance of something through anger.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not that you're actually upset with them. It's just that this is the most expedient tool that you can use to create a better outcome from this dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an ex-girlfriend that used to say the most horrible things to people, but she would do it in a very calm, neutral tone of voice, a little bit of a smile on her face. And, after we broke up, a friend of mine was like, I realized she was actually a really nasty person. I'm like, yeah. Why'd you stay with her so long? It's like, well, I'm used to people trying to stab me when they're mad at me, and she never did that. So for the longest time, it's like, yeah, I don't like being spoken to like this, but I don't see a knife, so it's not
a
really
level up, yeah.
protocol.
Yeah, you're not breaking a plate and trying to cut me with the God's razor edge. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So neat. This is paradise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the downside to my mom's side of the family while I was growing up. They do the Irish whisper, if you're familiar with that term. So
I like that.
People yelling and screaming. I've said this in every interview for a security job. It means nothing to me when people raise their voice. Like it doesn't really register. I'm not going to act any different than this. I don't care. And that can be a problem.
Right. You don't have that hook inside of screaming equals I have to respond in this way.
Yeah. Well, if anything, with most people, the way that I kind of respond without thinking is just, it's gasoline on the fire. It's whatever. Or my favorite, shut up. Like, don't even look at them and just shut up.
This isn't having the intended response. I will exacerbate my input.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had too many years of Kung Fu movies. I used the Shaolin monastery, brush off. I love doing that. But it's not exactly productive in certain contexts.
Right.
So fortunately, I've had enough martial arts experience and awkward dating experiences to kind of finally yes, here I actually do have a blind spot, and it's called acting normal. Okay, now I'm aware. You stand. All right. I've learned how to sense this area. I've projected my chi into this place, and now I can notice when you go there. So if you smile and say, I fucking hate you, now I'll be like, hey man, that's not cool. I recognize where you're coming.
What is it? Expedient means, right? Your methods and means get more subtle and effective.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they don't have consequences.
True.
What is the dad in the burning house with the 3 kids, and he tells each kid that their favorite thing is outside.
Yeah.
So he's lying to them, but it is for their own good to get them outside. But the fact that they are now outside doesn't mean that he's free from the consequence of lying to his kids, because now his children are angry with him that what he said was true isn't actually true, that they don't have a pony out there. No. So they're going to be super upset with him, but at least they're still alive to be upset. Right?
Yeah. And so there's a simple solution for that. Who wants ice cream?
Right. What's that over there? Ooh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I worked with a guy at the museum, my museum job, loves magic. His thing is sort of the up close sleight of hand. And there was a period before I left that job where he was like thinking about making smoke bombs, and those of us that had, the veterans, we all kind of like, oh my God, Joe, you need to make smoke bombs. That would be so great. Could you just imagine that for the 70th weird old lady comes up, to ask you about something that she's standing directly in front of? Ha ha ha. Oh, I'd love that. That'd be great. I would never go anywhere in this building without dropping a smoke bomb first. Yep. And I would I see. I couldn't be trusted then. And here it is 10 years later, and I still can't be trusted. But I really want smoke bombs.
Yeah, I originally got into magic because I thought I'd be able to throw fireballs from my hands, like just straight up wizard style. Like, it's magic. People can do magic. You can. Yeah. Nope.
That reminds me. I found a video a few nights ago on YouTube. Fire Qigong. There is a type of Qigong, that a lot of Taoist priests will use fire dragon Qigong. And it's basically for taking control of that sort of automatic temperature regulation aspect of the body. And you will, you can raise and lower your body temperature within a couple of degrees. But this individual and his students are making the claim that this guy is going to, like you said, throw that fireball for real. So I haven't had a chance to check this video out, but from what I had seen, it's like, you're just using this fire dragon principle. Like, well, he took room temperature water and he made it warm. It's like, I can do that. Right. Anybody can do that. That's easy. It's, so I want to see what he's doing. I want to try and figure it out. I'm waiting to see. And the way that the thumbnail too, they use, they kind of imply like he's got the Hadouken going.
Right.
I don't think this guy has the Hadouken.
Doing the thing.
Yeah. So I'm waiting to see.
Outstanding.
I find it easier to teach people some of the weird perception tricks that are in more advanced martial arts than it is to try and teach them the simple stuff that's in the Qigong and the health maintenance, because they don't, it's real. The making the ball of energy between your hands exercise,
I learned that in high school.
Yeah.
My high school debate teacher taught me that. I was like, this is amazing. And I've been using that in my mentalism work, right, to create the ball of energy, to influence people's feeling. And they're just like, what is going on? I'm like, yeah, I'm a wizard.
Yeah.
This is what I do. Kung Fu master. I'm like, what?
The explanations, that was where I got into the habit of answering questions with, what are you going to do with that besides get yourself in trouble? You don't need to know that, because you're not that you can't understand, but with most people, you think you're thinking, as I love Dragon Ball Z, that was great, but you're thinking to Dragon Ball about this. It's much, much simpler than that. I promise you, everybody can do this. I was better at it last year when I was 100 pounds underweight than I had been before getting sick, when I was, still in my shameful, I'm invincible sort of mentality. I'm ashamed that I brought that. I managed to make it past 30 with, I can do anything. I'm the greatest. But that, and that's so, I do find it very useful for the more materialist minded type of people. She's not real. Therefore, your chi-based martial art's not real. It's like, well, it's definitely real because I just threw you 10 feet. So let's. Well,
that was just a trick.
It is a trick.
That was just a trick.
If you weren't as big as you are, it's like we're the same height. You're looking me directly in the eye. We're both. What are you talking about? You weigh more than me. Come on. That was one really big advantage to the weight issues I had was, all right, well, if it was all those muscles that let me beat you, how come I'm an actual skeleton now and I'm still doing? How come it's worse for you now than it was then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was like, listen, if I tied a bag of concrete to the ceiling and swung it at you, would you want it to hit you? And that's just 20 pounds. I'm 190 pounds. Like, if you can tap into one bag of concrete's worth of your body mass and move it 1 foot, that's a whole lot of, I don't like that.
Exactly.
If you learn how to tap into 190 pounds of that and move it a foot, that is way more no thank you than a bag swinging at you. Yeah. And that's all this trick is learning how to get all of that behind whatever touches the other person.
Yeah. Excuse me.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah, the density of human bone thing. Human bone has a higher tensile strength than, steel in a lot of cases. People scoff. Oh, I can't. It is, though. It definitely is. And once you learn the trick, Xingyi uses isometrics to really, there's the simple way of using isometric exercise to kind of build up the functional strength. But you can do it in a way to sort of increase the resilience of your bones. So when you do it, you don't have fingers anymore. You don't get talons, you get iron chopsticks. And that one's a lot of fun to use because you can actually just, this is a nothing motion, but how come you get a bruise when I do it? Bam.
Right. Pop. Yep.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, because what you do never changes. What do we do now? The form, do your Sunum Tao. Well, what do we do next? The Sunum Tao.
Yeah.
Well, what do we do after that? More Sunum Tao.
Yeah.
Well, how you do it changes. And
Yeah.
you do the form with full body compression to build up all of that mojo.
Yeah.
So that when somebody's coming at you, you just kind of go, oh, yeah, you can't bring more to me than I've already brought myself.
Yeah.
So good luck. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way you could bring more to me than I know I can withstand for a while. So
yeah, I've had a couple of teachers talk about building, you know, whatever the style, building a such and such body. You do. If you practice this correctly, you use some of the principles correctly, you'll build up. You won't have that bodybuilder body. You're not going to look like Schwarzenegger before his movie career, but you're going to have a body that's going to be very well suited for what you're trying to do and the way you're trying to do it, which
very well integrated.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want to build yourself from the inside out to really take advantage of what you're doing. I've described a lot of people that just, they do Tai Chi for health. It's like, you've got a sports car and you use it to go to the end of your driveway to get the mail. That's a shame. Or you're going around the corner, to the end of your block to go pick up a soda. That's a complete waste. You don't need this. Just go to the gym. That's all you want. But if you want to learn to do this is, this is very.
Yeah. That's what I love about going to the gym, is using the dynamic compression, like dynamic tension, to make a relatively low amount of weight feel like it's incredibly heavy.
Yeah.
So that every single thing you do is the most difficult thing possible.
Yeah.
Then you kind of get this weird sense of, oh, this heavy thing is actually really light. I'm just making it feel heavy. So then really heavy things feel light.
Yeah.
And then there's a dude standing in front of you and you can feel the way that he's connected to the ground. And then you push perpendicular to that and it's just very easy. And then there goes a whole bunch of weight.
Yeah.
And it's even better when they try to resist it, because now they're pushing off you, pushing them off.
Yeah.
And now it's twice as spectacular.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That fun moment where people finally start to understand why it's harder to move dead weight than it is to move tense weight. Mm-hmm. I love that moment. And not for, now it's going to be easier for me to teach you this. No, I love it because it's that. Now it's, now we bully. It's going to be great.
Right.
Try and stop.
Yeah. Have you ever tried moving a 7-pound cat that doesn't want to be moved? You're just like, no.
Yeah.
Just like, how the hell are you so heavy?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's what he's been trying to teach me this whole time. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's why they don't use the word for limp in Tai Chi. They use the word for loose. Loose is not limp. And too many people think translating, sung as relaxed, that's not going to work, because when most people think relaxed, mentally relaxed is unconscious.
Allowing everything.
Yeah, that's not loose. Loose is when if you ever spin up a towel and then give somebody a snap. If you've ever seen a whip used to great effect, that's loose. That's what you want. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
the fighting against yourself.
Yeah, no other manifest intention other than being there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like, well, you're thinking about what I'm doing, and now you're not thinking about being where you are. So you're no longer going to be where you are. You're going to be moved by what I'm doing.
Exactly. You're starting off with a beginner in martial arts versus an experienced person. You're already starting off at least one step behind. And now you want to put yourself 10 steps behind. You're definitely not going to like what's about to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. I described, I got a friend of mine to give up his sort of weird dance martial art that he had been practicing, heavy air quotes, for years, for Xingyi, by saying, like, look, this is how it is. You're standing there and I'm standing here. You're going to blink. I'm going to be standing where you're standing, and you're going to be on the ground just about there, about 10 feet away. Yeah. I don't think you can really do that. Challenge accepted. We square off. We stand there. He blinks. What the fuck? How did you choose it? I told you what I was going to do. What do you mean, how did I do it? This is how you do it. This is how you do it. The waist moves and I give him the little breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that works. It's like, well, you're not using your waist. You're also not connecting your arms to your body. You don't have your legs connected to your body. I mean, it's all growing out of the torso. How do you not know how to use it?
Right.
The more insulting, this guy was probably about 33 at the time. It's like, you've had a human body for over 30 years. What have you been doing with it?
Yep. I've been enjoying its separate parts separately.
Yeah.
On their own merit for a while.
Yeah. We made a bunch of jokes in last week's episode about this particular person that I've mentioned sitting on the couch watching bad sci-fi TV like Firefly and crying himself to sleep at night. So that's what you've been doing. Well, how do you do push-ups for 2 years and not get at least a little bit of definition in the triceps, at least? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Staggering reverse talent.
Yeah. That's why he will wave at people. My bat tattoo.
If little kids are doing this unknowingly, how is an adult that's deliberately set out to do nothing but this one thing for, I'm going to put an hour every day into standing. Okay. If you do that, that's this many hours. You can expect this amount of progress in this amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2 years later, I don't know, bro. I'm not really feeling it. Yeah, I know you're not.
Right.
I can see.
That's it. Like that's it. It's all intentioned and mind power.
Yeah.
It really is. It's super weird because you can do the postures, you can do the what. But if you don't do the what the right way, with the right intention, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's all intention. We can talk shapes and structure and postures and everything. But all of that, again, is just a way into understanding the power of your mind's intention.
Yeah.
As manifest in reality.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like people go, well, how long is it going to take to learn this? It's like, well, how loud is a bell?
Yeah.
It depends, right? It's like so weird because I was on somebody's podcast. It was more business oriented.
Yeah.
And we're talking about mindset and all this kind of stuff. And she was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna join your secret group at the Mind Reader University, right? Which you've been inside and out of.
Yeah.
And she logged in. We connected. We messaged. Then I said, what do you want to know from me? What can I give you? Never heard anything back from her. 3 months later, there's a chargeback on my Stripe account. Somebody's contesting that you never delivered what you promised. I was like, I made myself available to this person with zero reservation. Hey, I will share anything you want to know that I can teach you.
Yeah.
What do you want to know? Never asked one thing and then said, I refused to give anything.
Well, you didn't upload the skills.
That's right. I didn't download them into her matrix brain. So it's just super weird. It's just kind of like, how do you blunder through life without recognizing the consequences of your action and inaction?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Okay. Keep blaming your teachers for your lack of progress.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It says one of Bhagwan Zhang's theory documents. One of the last lines is, don't blame the teacher for being too conservative. Blame yourself for not putting in effort. And it's really, it's a great, it overjoyed me to see that once I started translating these things on my own, I'd read the way other people had translated it, and they always tried to find a very diplomatic, non-insulting way to kind of translate those two lines. But what it says is, it's not him, it's you. You didn't do it. What do you expect? So one of my favorite general martial arts sayings is you take a day off when you're dead. Otherwise,
Yep.
at least a couple of minutes. 5 minutes is better than no minutes. An hour is better than nothing.
Right. So I drive a lot. I've put 250,000 plus miles on my car since I bought it. Right. It's like I've driven a lot. So when you're doing a 14-hour drive, and okay, well, basically every waking minute of my day will be spent in the car on the move.
Yeah.
And there's no way around folding space. So there's no way around the time I have to spend doing this. So that's my speed is the only variable that I can influence that with.
Yeah.
So then you get really aware of stopping. Every time you stop, that minute of 0 miles an hour seriously harshes your average speed.
Yeah.
Even 1 mile an hour doesn't affect your average speed as badly as 0 does.
Yeah.
So total stopping, not an option, only when absolutely necessary. And even then, let's not. But some sort of forward progress is always going to be infinitely better than doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I'm really starting to appreciate that now that I'm driving too. It's sort of a, I was thinking to myself, just yesterday, I'm like looking around at this one traffic light. I'm like, is something going on with me, or has everybody in Columbus suddenly gotten worse at driving?
Yep. Well, just like every area of the country has its own verbal dialect, every area of the world has its own driving dialect.
Yeah.
It's just that you learn to drive awfully in the way that everybody else around you is being awful, and suddenly you're in the flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So weird.
Oh yeah. Got passed on the highway a couple of maybe about a week ago. This person's erratic. I see them in the rear view just coming up erratic, weaving in and out of lanes. And I'm expecting it's going to be, some teenager or some guy in his early 20s doing this hot rod shit.
Mm-hmm.
The car comes up and I can look and I see it's this like this young woman with like an 8-year-old kid in the passenger seat. She's got the phone between her shoulder and her ear. She's putting makeup on. Like she's the kid is driving from the passenger seat basically. And I'm like, all right, take that foot off the gas. Like I'm gonna let you can have this space. I'm gonna
please be ahead of me where I can now respond and anticipate your mess up.
Yeah.
Instead of plowing your bad decisions straight into me from behind.
Got all the way over there to that right lane. It's like, all right, there's an exit coming up. All right. If she ends her life by means of this semi that she's rapidly approaching, I'm just going to dip off here and figure out a new part of the city that I haven't seen yet.
Yep. Yeah.
I've known a few people who've had the road rage really bad. And when I wasn't driving, I'm just like, why do you care? Why would you, what's going on with you? Got behind the wheel. First time it happened to me, I could feel my face flush. And then I remembered, wait a minute.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm in charge of this 5,000 pounds of metal.
Right. It's
right.
Exactly. I had, my decade of illness was started by getting cat scratch fever from a kitten. Mm-hmm. And it affected me so badly. It started the weight fluctuations. There's nothing like having 102-degree fever for 6 months straight to really kind of test your patience and self-control. One day, I lost my temper on the really pleasant-voiced, horrible girl that I had mentioned. These are her cats. One of her cats did this to me. I don't blame the cat, by the way, just to make that clear. I've never had this, so I've seen that cat since then. He's still my buddy. He remembers me. He wishes he could have come with me. But one day I was there alone, sick, and the cats, they were chasing each other, and they basically both pounced directly on my crotch and woke me up in the worst possible way. And I stood up, and I put one hand over my head, and I started to shout, and then I stopped and sank back down onto the couch in defeat. Oh, my God. you'll never understand why I'm upset. Ever since then, I never lose my temper anymore with people. You'll never understand. It's just like shouting at a cat. You are never going to understand why I'm mad. So it's not worth it. So
yeah, worst day of my life was because I was very angry, and I realized, oh, I let that situation be an excuse for me to feed that anger, and it was immediately bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, so never give anybody the ability to do that to me ever again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Again, Zhuangzi has one of his stories. If you're crossing a river in a boat and an empty boat collides with you, you're not going to react. You're not going to think anything of it. But if there's somebody in that boat, all of a sudden you're going to have plenty of things to say. You're going to be outraged and you're going to do this and that. And there's no reason to, everything's an empty boat. There's no reason to get excited.
I like that. Everything's an empty boat.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that book. It's the only, that and the 9 Laws are the only 2 books that I read continuously. And that's really only in the last 2 years that the 9 Laws has kind of jumped into that position. But you know, since I was a teenager, just as soon as I finish, I still feel like reading for a while. Just go right back to the beginning, start it again. So
yeah, I have a, let's see, no, the Analectics.
Oh yeah, the end.
Yeah, but they're illustrated.
Yeah, I actually just saw. I might know what edition you're talking about. I just saw that the other day
Let me see.
at a local bookstore here.
Yeah, it's this guy.
Ah, yeah, that I've got the 2 versions of the Zhuangzi that are like that, and the Art of War, and a couple others.
I've got the Art of War, and I think the Zhuangzi is the next one on my list.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I went on a buying spree, and my to read stack is so big, just it's ridiculous. I don't even know what all.
That's how it should be. I've got one of my bookshelves way in the back there. There's another one the same size in the bedroom that's pretty much full, and then there's 2 more also kind of. We've got 2 doors into our bathroom and the little hallway into the bathroom from the bedroom. Just one is all books of mine. So
nice. What is it? You can judge a man by his unread library. Right.
I don't really think there's much in mine. I've read most of these books, but then again, you know, I had about 2 years of sitting on ass with nothing to do but read. So I was able to, it was a nice, you know, a nice opportunity to catch up.
Yeah. Yay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your book on Wing Chun. That was it's a nice break from. I had been in a heavy philosophy phase for a while, and then I got my hands on that, so it's like this is going to be something good. I can still stay in that mode, but I can actually mix it up with martial arts and various other ideas as a really enjoyable read.
Thank you. I kind of approached it as, all right, this is a philosophy of everything. I have to get this out of my head and exercise these demons, otherwise they will take over my life. And I knew I was close to writing it when my sweetie was getting ready for work, and I had a dry erase marker drawing on the mirror while she's trying to get ready for work. She's like, Jonathan, just write it. Just not right now. Just go. I was like, yeah, okay. Let me go do this. So it was good that it got out of there. Yeah, it's basically kind of like I really hate the style wars, and that's something I appreciate being able to talk to you about, is that we got our styles and whatever, but it's not a measuring contest. It's more of a, well, this is my way in kind of approach.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's that there are universal principles, very few of them, because they have to interaccommodate. They can't interfere with each other. So there can be 0 exceptions to where they are applicable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be universal principles.
Exactly.
So, since there are very few universal principles that they apply everywhere, well, the human pattern doesn't really change much. Local variation, you're taller than me, okay, I'm fatter than that guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But the basic pattern, elbows are south of the shoulder, all that kind of stuff, that doesn't change. So the Venn diagram overlap of universal principles as embodied by the human form, well, that doesn't change at all. Since the first time there was a human being, the laws of the universe governed it this way.
Yeah.
So the styles are really just strategies for aligning the human pattern with and against the forces of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And the shorthand is called Kung Fu.
Exactly. It's never the style that beats you. It's always the man.
Yep. So that to me was kind of the dissolution of the style wars.
Yeah.
So it's more of, well, how effective are you at managing momentum now based on the strategies that you're employing from the training of your particular strategy?
Yeah.
Like that's really what you're putting into practice, is your style's strategy for momentum handling.
Exactly. That's why it's always such a shame to see, you know, you mentioned with the Chi Sao stuff. Oh, I've been studying Tai Chi. You walk up to the appropriate range, they take a step back. What are you doing? You know, we're not doing it out here. We got to do it up here. This is where we are.
Yeah. Short strike art, man.
Yeah. Oh, there's a nice demonstration. You know, my teacher, Dr. Yang Zhuangming, one of his friends lives in British Columbia, Canada, a guy named Liang Shoyu. He does this, you know, Tai Chi is known for its neutralizing skill. Well, he'll show, you know, he'll say things like, you know, you make it inside your body. People get confused. He'll have somebody come and put their hand on him. Push, you know, you're not going to push me over with just your hand from here, but you know, you can move that shoulder back a little bit. You can do this, that, and he'll neutralize that. So they just end up having their hand on him, like, and it looks like they're making these hilarious faces. You just have to make it nice. You know, if it's a simple principle, if it's a trick, just incorporate it, internalize it, make it smaller and smaller, make it more subtle, increasingly subtle, and there you go. There's the magic. I think I said it in one of these Twitter threads. Magic is just the word we use for something that we can see work, but you don't necessarily know how it's working or why it's working, but you know that it does.
Oh, what is it? Magic is what we call stuff science hasn't made boring yet.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah. Yeah. I know somebody who wants, you know, he's like, I want to have that view that children have. It's like, well, they think that because their brains aren't growing yet. They're not living in reality. That's why they can have that fantasy. You can't, you're not going to lock, you know.
Yeah, you can't regress.
Exactly.
You don't regress to childhood dum-dum.
Yeah.
Like transcend to rational wonder.
Yeah.
Right. Like meaningful predictions about reality and being amazed that they work. Right.
Yeah. Simple.
That's it. Transcend the oh, this is all bullshit mindset. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Awesome. Well, I gotta call it.
All right.
2.5 awesome hours of like, yes, finally, a kung fu intelligence that we can connect with. Awesome.
Yes. It's nice to finally meet. You know, when I decided that I was going to dedicate myself to martial arts, I really thought there'd be more people living in the world of martial arts, but you know, you walk around, there's maybe like 15 dozen people here. I thought there'd be a little bit more than that.
Right. A lot of people profess interest. A lot of people act interested. A lot of people play at interest.
Yeah.
Few actually actualize their interest.
Yeah. Well, a few is better than none.
More kung fu for me.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for your time. I really enjoyed this discussion.
My pleasure. Thanks for making the opportunity happen. And yeah, I'm gonna hop off of here, go to the gym, kung fu some weights, make them really difficult,
Excellent.
but I'll know it's easy.
Excellent. Before we sign off
Won't
here,
be.
where can the people find you on
Ooh,
the internet?
yeah, the best place to find me is _Pritchard. That's my Twitter handle. I've had several that I tried to kind of cut apart into compartments and be like, this is my kung fu account, this is my mentalism account, this is it. But then I was like, kung fu teaches the power of integration.
Yeah.
What are you doing, you big dummy? Like, just stop diffusing your impact, focus, reintegrate. Okay, so I cut it down to just _Pritchard, and that's pretty much the best place to connect with me, because I just got so many different wacky projects that anywhere I send you will be excluding something else. So come say hi to me there, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Again, thank you for your time. It's
Awesome.
been a wonderful conversation.
Okay. Thanks, Brad.
Stupid? No good? With no talent? You shouldn't talk like that. We can fix your problem very quickly.